got a sunburn to peel the daggers off your tongue. Young and dumb, I'm rotting like a bed sore in a cold case that's never gonna be more than scratching at the walls while you're waiting for a bullet to come. All along I've been treading in the deep end, throw my mirror in the cupboard for the weekend. Try and put together pieces while I'm dreaming, but nothing's adding up to a thing but a hole in the head.
Woke pirates, yes they rob, so now to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, my head was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Redemption songs.
Hey, what's up, troops? Welcome to the Radical Candor Podcast. I'm Jeff Evely, the Magnanimous GenX'er Male. I'm back with you now on this second day of July 2024. It's been a minute, hasn't it, folks? I was just kind of reflecting on this right before we went live. I was talking to Emily backstage. Emily Duggan is with us this evening there, ladies and gentlemen. She's the... she is the founder and spokesperson for Moms Against the Norm out in BC. They're an anti-SOGI group whom we appreciate around here naturally. So I'm very happy to have her back with us this evening. Anyway, I was just talking to Emily backstage and I was like, holy smokes, I think it's actually been like 6 weeks or something since I last streamed. But I don't know where the time goes these days. What can I say? I was off for a little bit there because I had to prepare for a court appearance where I was self-representing, and then that just kind of ended up rolling into some time to work on my presentation for the event that we just did in Red Deer there, Service to Solutions Conference hosted by Canadians for Truth. Went really well, except for the fact that my presentation didn't work. So I ended up just doing a straight up speech, and it ran a bit long. Anyway, and then I was out in BC doing the We Unify conference. Lots of great speakers there, lots of great people that I previously only knew online, and that is a bit of a novel experience in all of human history. So yeah, it was kind of cool just meeting people that I only know online. And I have some comments coming in here on Rumble. Dwayne is here, says evening all. Friday 78's giving us the triple slashy. Garbad says hello, Sergeant Major. Hey all, how you doing, everybody? Thanks for being with me. And ouch, my junk is here, says hi guys, appearing under a new username. The funny thing is I don't seem to be getting a lot of comments coming in from any of the other platforms. I was just checking to make sure we were all connected in some of my metrics here. And but Cindy is with us and she says, hey Jeff, about time. Yeah, you're telling me. It has been a minute. And here is Rob saying, good afternoon, evening, Patriots. Glad to see the return of Radical Candor. Thanks, brother. And, you know, I will throw in as well, while I was traveling, because I was gone for 2 weeks, I think maybe a little more than that all told, between Alberta and BC, I ran into a lot of people who were listeners to the podcast and very appreciative. So that was awesome. Sometimes it kind of feels like I'm just screaming into the social media void around here, but apparently more people than I realized are actually listening quite intently, in fact. Okay, so I don't want to leave Emily waiting too long. I'll give you the meme and the quote before I bring her in here. And here is our meme. This is actually just a post from Circulon. He is awesome on X, so give him a follow. And he says, it's Circle Day. He's got the, sorry, for those just listening, he's got the Conquest flag up here. This is the Pride Progress flag. And he's got his logo, Circulon. So he does the whole Circulon thing. This is like the SDGs pin. I think he's using the colors from that, and the red star is a very communist symbol right on the North Korean flag. Anyway, he says, it's Circle Day, something genocide, something white guilt, shame, thievery, violence, racism, murder, pride parades, wear a mask, guilt your kids, climate crisis, intersectionality, native good, you bad, give a migrant your house and your culture doesn't exist. Pretty spot on. Well done, as always, Mr. Circulon. Okay. Oh, and I did this bass backwards here because I usually do the quote first. But here is Abigail Schreier. She is, oh, shoot, what is the name of the book? It'll come to me. But she is a fearless author who has been writing on the dangers of gender-affirming care, especially when it comes to children. And she says, it is worth asking whether a standard guided less by biology than by political correctness is in the best interest of the patients. Yeah, and that seems to be the question that no one is asking. And there's big bucks for big pharma and all of this. But anyway, I'm going to bring Emily in here. And like I said, she's an anti-SOGI activist. So she's got lots to say around these issues. Emily, great to have you back on the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Although it's not really tonight for you where you are, is it?
It's 3:00 in the afternoon over here in BC.
Okay, it's like 7 p.m. here on the Atlantic coast. But
the name of Abigail Schreier's book is Irreversible Damage.
Thank you very much. And quite the cover on it, I find really grabs you as well.
Yeah,
it's a picture of a little girl, like an artist's rendition of a little girl, like a cartoon, but she's got her abdomen is a hole that you can just see right through. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so it really kind of grabs you. Okay, so Emily, before I go ahead and do the video and get into the whole presentation and everything, how about giving us a little update on what you've been up to since we last spoke?
So much has happened since we last spoke, Jeff. I just finished running in a by-election for school board trustee in April for School District 20 in British Columbia, which is the Kootenay-Columbia district over in the West Kootenays. There was 4 candidates in that race, and it was a by-election because one of the trustees stepped down. In British Columbia, school board trustee elections, they're held every 4 years. So the last one was 2022. The next one will be 2026. Unless somebody steps down or is removed for whatever reason, then they hold by-elections. So that was what had happened here. And I threw my hat in the ring. I was nominated by 2 people of the community. And there was 3 women and 1 trans man. So for the viewers and listeners who don't know what that is, a trans man is a biological woman who believes that they are a man, lives life as a man, forces everybody to refer to them as a man, and so on. This person also is a drag king and does performances for adults as well as children. So I lost this election, and the transgender man won, and it was quite the election. I really gave it my all. I campaigned as hard as I could, and what I came out with an understanding of from this election is that trustee school elections, they are not well known to the common citizen, and so I've been really putting a lot of effort into trying to educate people about school board trustee elections, who's eligible to vote, why you should vote, why they are important. And basically it all boils down to our public education system affects us all, whether we're parents or not. And it's important that everybody have a say in who is in charge of our public education.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we appreciate you. We appreciate your courage in stepping up to go after that role. And it's kind of the level of wokeness in BC. I almost kind of just rolled my eyes and groaned, like, of course, the transgender woman or transgender man won. So, of course.
That's kind of how I felt when I found out that this person was running against me. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I think we know what's going to happen here. I'll use this opportunity then as a knowledge spreader opportunity.
Yeah, pretty much. And any awareness raising is good awareness raising, especially around this, I think. So much appreciated. And Emily actually sent this over to me. This is well, I'll just go ahead and play the video. But Gays Against Groomers, for those of you guys just listening, and they did a little video here, addressing pride parades. Oh, I need some volume.
Videos before, but this one needs a warning because it is graphic. Let's take a look at what happened at San Francisco Pride and the police officers' responses. The following are all clips that came out of San Francisco Pride.
Hi everybody, you look...
You might think that this behavior around children would be illegal, but let's see what the cops had to say.
You have a zone where people are giving each other blowjobs in public and pissing on each other in public. Is that legal? So
pick your battle day, and they want us maintaining civility on the outskirts of it, and so that's
one of the other. So obviously, there's a lot of nudity around here, men, women, transsexual stuff going on, and there's kids, wandering around the event. I'm not sure on San Francisco's laws or California's laws. Is it legal for nudity to be presented in front of kids?
Nudity is legal, yeah, within certain boundaries.
What are the boundaries? Do you know?
Anything coupled with a lewd act or anything being done for sexual gratification that involves other people.
Okay.
Every single one of those people and every single one of those cops deserve the kind of punishment that I cannot say on here. I don't think I've ever put a warning on one of my videos.
Okay. Yeah. And if you're just listening, like there's every kind of lewd act going on in those clips that they show, just like the guy says when he's approaching the police there, public, urinating on each other and performing fellatio on one another. Just incredible stuff. Emily, thoughts?
When the RCMP member or officer says, or no, that's the states, so just a police officer, when he says to pick your battle, I think that's a battle worth picking every single day. The clips that we saw there. Performing blowjobs on the side of the road with audiences like that. I mean, that's goes above and beyond lewd acts, inappropriate behavior. And then I question, so there's two ways we can look at this. We can look at the people who are doing these acts, being naked in public, and then we can look at the parents that are taking their children to these events. Okay.
Right.
So there's a responsibility on both parts. So the people who are behaving like this, they have a responsibility to be in control of their actions. And then the parents who are taking their children to these events, they have a responsibility to know what is going on and what is appropriate and what is not appropriate to expose your children to. Now, maybe back in the 90s, a pride parade was appropriate to take your child to. Today, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not a family-friendly event when they're doing things like this. And then for officers, police officers, to be allowing it to happen and saying things like, pick your battles, buddy, this is a battle worth picking. Get over there.
Yeah. Yeah. He said, this is a pick your battles day. That was his attitude. So, yeah, I mean, it's not hard to tell who the tyrants are. They're the ones that you can't criticize. And even the police are afraid of these people because we all know that this is perfectly illegal. And I like that you throw in that to go to a pride parade in the 90s would have been appropriate. Like, it never used to be like this.
No.
Yeah. And nobody started complaining until they started engaging in this lewd behavior while children are present, whether it's Drag Queen Story Hour or the Pride Parade, right?
That's right. I believe that Pride celebrations, they started out, they just wanted acceptance. They wanted the right to marry so that if their spouse passed away, they would have rights to their belongings and property and things like that. They would be able to be in the hospital and hold their hand with them when they passed. These are all very reasonable requests. I support these requests. These are things absolutely a spouse should be entitled to. That's not the issue. And that's not what the fight is for today. It's gone so far past that now that they're fighting to be allowed to give blowjobs on the side of the road and let kids be exposed to it. That is ludicrous. That is sexual abuse. It's wrong on every level, and you don't need to be a religious person to see that. You just need to be somebody with any sort of moral compass or any sort of values. You can see that this is wrong. Sexual acts there's a place and a time for them, and out in the public is not one of them at all. So
Especially
it's
around children.
Especially around children. So we've really, the pendulum has really swung too far. I do believe that there's a happy medium somewhere. This is not that. This is not that at all.
Agreed. And I say that as a loud and proud atheist too. I don't need to be a religious person to see that there is something deeply, deeply wrong with this. And geez, it's kind of like we saw during the pandemic. I mean, the last people anybody seems to be thinking about here are the kids. So it's very sad, sick thing to have to live through. And here is some footage from the, I believe, Toronto Pride Parade. If I'm not mistaken, why don't I just check the tweet and make sure? Okay, well, it's Mark Lipinski, so I assume it's Toronto, but here we go. So more of the same, all kinds of nudity here in Canada as well, because we're just so progressive, open and tolerant and accepting. But Gays Against Groomers had a response, as we might expect. And they're down in St. Pete, wherever that is, and said, we hope you don't mind us hanging out at your Pride today. We are there to let everyone know that Pride is no place for children and that there is no pride in sexualizing, indoctrinating, and mutilating kids. Thank you, Gays Against Groomers. I'm one of these guys. Jeez, I didn't think to line that clip up. I bet, well, somebody in Victoria, they weren't officially Gays Against Groomers, but he was a gay against groomers, and he was quite fabulous. But okay, let's check this out. So there is no pride in sexualizing, well, just like they said in the tweet, in sexualizing, indoctrinating, mutilating kids. They have the graphics going on the screen for anybody just listening there, and just saying, take your kids home. Pretty great stuff from them. Yeah, we appreciate them.
Yeah, big time. I think that, you know, if you want to talk about red flags, Jeff, which I think is an important conversation, when these things are allowed to happen in public and children are allowed to view them, what we do is we educate children on adult topics that they should not be educated on, and therefore we remove the red flags that we would otherwise have to be able to identify that a child has had some inappropriate action happen to them, around them, in front of them. And what I mean is, if a child sees somebody performing a sex act like a blowjob on another person in public, now they are aware of what that is. Now they've been taught what that is. Now, if they run around and they are saying the term blowjob, or if they are miming the action of a blowjob, normally, if you saw that, a red flag would go up. Oh my goodness, how does Johnny know what this is? How does Susie know what this is? We need to have a conversation. We need to pay more attention. We need to dig deeper into this. This is a red flag. Johnny or Susie, who is 8 years old, should not know what that act is or what that term means. Something has gone very wrong here. And then we would pay more attention, hopefully be able to pinpoint why, and be able to get Johnny or Susie help and stop whatever is happening from happening. Now, having it displayed in public, it removes that red flag. Having it taught in education through programs like SOGI 123, it removes that red flag. And the left, the activists who promote these things, their argument is no, it protects them. Education on these things protects them, and it helps them identify it so that they can inform a trusted adult to get help. I disagree wholeheartedly. What it does is it absolutely grooms the child. It teaches the child what it is. It protects the pedophile, the perpetrator, because now they don't have to tell the child, keep it a secret. Don't do this.
Right.
Don't tell so-and-so. Make sure nobody sees you doing this. This is just for you and me, which
Right.
is something that a predator would say in the past. Now it's out in the open. Well, they're teaching it in school. Now the predator doesn't even have to groom the child. The public education, public pride parades are educating the child, grooming the child for the predator. So this is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. This is not safety. This is not keeping a child safe.
No, I mean, I'll just reiterate what I said a minute ago. The last people being considered in all of this are the children. So it's just terrible. And I like how you explain that too. The angle that you're taking there, like this makes children more vulnerable because they're desensitized to this kind of sexual behavior now, and therefore less likely to throw up a red flag, like you say, to their parents if there is something going on. And yeah, it's like if you find out that your kid knows what a blowjob is, the immediate reaction is, where did you hear that? Like, where are you getting this stuff, right? And then you go and you hunt down the source of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now what we have is we have, where did you find that? Oh, Miss So-and-so, the grade 3 teacher, shared it with us in this book she read. I'm sorry, what did you just say? So now the entire class knows? And the thing is they present this education. They it's not sex education, it's pleasure education. And they present it in a way that makes it sound fun, and this will feel good. Well, what do you think a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old child is going to do when you tell them that this is going to feel good, this is going to be fun? They're not just going to put it in the memory bank for 10 years later when they're old enough. They want to go and have fun and feel good and teach their friends. And who do you think they're going to do it with? Other kids their age. So maybe somebody who's not been exposed to this. Maybe it's gut-wrenching, and it's horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we haven't known for eons that early sexualization of children is bad for them.
Absolutely.
And I think I feel like there's a word that maybe you were kind of pushing me toward there, but fetishization. Like when you do this with children, you're fetishizing them, right?
Absolutely. And like you said, nobody had a problem with these lifestyles, with these celebrations until children were involved. Why is there such a fight from the left to continue to involve the children when completely reasonable people are saying, if you just got rid of the kids' involvement, nobody would have a problem anymore? Drag queens would no longer be a problem for people if you could just remove the performances for children.
1,000%. I mean, that's exactly it. And the association with the left is a very apt one as well, because I think the reason that they're fighting so hard about this is because of the revolution against all things. Like Marx called for the overthrow of basically every social norm. So this is part and parcel with that. But the good news is that the left is eating itself. Here we have a clip from the Toronto Pride Parade here, where the Hamas holes decided to block the street off for the Pride Parade. So here we go.
Palestine will be free! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Okay, that's enough of the hypnotic chanting.
I'm confused by this. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know anything about the Palestine-Israel battle going on because I that's out of my wheelhouse. But are they teaming up with Pride? Is that what's happening there?
They were just a little while ago. We had Queers for Palestine when when it was the pro-Hamas demonstrations going on. Like there were these groups showing up, Queers for Palestine. But now that the Pride parade is on, it doesn't look like that courtesy is being extended in the other direction.
Well, my question is because I see it's popular right now. You hang your flag whichever way you support outside your house. So like at my house, we have the Canadian flag. And then at other houses, you see the progressive trans flag. And at some houses you drive by, you see the progressive trans flag and then the Palestine flag. And as I said, I don't know much about the Palestine topic or way of life or anything. So I'm not going to pretend to, but correct me if I'm wrong. Does Palestine support gay living? Is this a lifestyle that is supported over there? I mean, so
they don't support gay surviving.
Okay. So it's a very strange, to me, that just screams, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it screams, I'm brainwashed over here. Look at me. I'm brainwashed.
That's right.
So yeah, and it's I talk about this like through the lens of intersectionality. The thing is, it's a bit to try to explain without a diagram, but there's like this intersectional wheel that has actually made it into quote unquote academic literature, because a lot of this Marxism just masquerades as academia, right? And basically it's like all Western values on the top side of the wheel, and the horizontal line is the line of dominance, and then under the wheel you have the lines of oppression that intersect with all of these. And so anyway, as long as you want to destroy the West, then you're allies. Okay, that's the way it works. So you have the
enemy of my friend is my friend, or no, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I don't know if they're even that smart. I think I don't think they're really thinking this through at all. And,
they can't be. Anybody who thinks it's okay to interrupt a puberty or block a puberty, or that a human can be born in the wrong body, they haven't thought it through. Yeah. It's not been thought through.
Speaking of people who would support that, here is a guy named Harry Hay. This is a tweet of mine, actually. And I'm saying, this Pride season, be sure to take some time to reflect on the sacrifices of those who went before you in the fight for the rights of grown men to wave their dongs in kids' faces. And this is a quote from Wikipedia. It says, quote, Harry Hay has been described as the founder of the modern gay movement and the father of gay liberation. Controversially, Hay was an active supporter of the North American Man-Boy Love Association, NAMBLA, a pedophile advocacy organization. He protested the group being banned from Pride parades, wearing a sign protesting the banning during the 1986 Los Angeles Pride and boycotting New York Pride in 1994 for their refusal to include NAMBLA. He spoke out in support of relationships between adult men and boys as young as 13, and spoke at several NAMBLA meetings, including panels in 1984 and 1986, and another in 1994 about helping the group strategize a name change to help with their public image, close quote. That's straight out of Wikipedia, folks. So this is basically the father of modern Pride. What do you make of that, Emily?
You know, it really hurts my gay and lesbian and bisexual friends because they're getting lumped into this, and that's not, there are really good gay, lesbian, bisexual people out there, and they are running from this as far and fast as possible because it is a bad look, man, and they don't want it. And it's really hard not to lump everybody in the same category. I mean, it happens to us all the time. I get called a white Christian nationalist, a bigot, a transphobe. I just had a lovely lesbian couple stay at my house for almost a week. Worst homophobe ever. And so
have you beat on that, on the worst homophobe ever? Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, my take on that Harry Hay is like, he's hurting the good gay and lesbian and bisexual people out there because they're guilty by association, and I really feel for those people because I see you. I don't think that you're bad, but man, people like Harry Hay, they're really doing a number on your reputation, and I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, that is unfortunate because, like you say, there are plenty of good ones. And Cora just jumped in and said, hello, everyone. Cora, you're late. You owe me 10 push-ups. But I was just going to say that this is one of the people that I was just talking about, how I got to meet people in person that I only knew online during my recent trip. And Cora was one of them. And it was pretty great. It was fabulous to meet her. Okay. So speaking of worst homophobe ever, let's see which one is worse. Here I am in Victoria.
Okay, I'll do it. Hey, how's it going? Jeff Evely, the Magnanimous GenX'er Male. I'm here in Victoria, BC for the We Unify conference, and I just came across an ally here that he's out here for Gays Against Groomers, saying, leave the kids alone. I happen to be involved with Leave Our Kids Alone, led by Camilla Sheikh with the 1 Million March for the Children last year. 1 Million March, yes. Yeah, right on.
Hands off our kids, my mistake.
So you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing out here today? We were just having a great conversation, and I thought we should probably get this out there. So
I'm gay, and I do not belong to the alphabet soup people. I'm old enough to know when we were just gay. We weren't gay, lesbian, bisexual. That's just all gay. They hoisted this marketing campaign on us in 2015 because the NGOs needed the corporate pledges to be maintained because they had no more goals. Gay marriage was achieved in 2015 in the United States, but we still had $30, $40 billion in assets in NGOs that had to keep the pledges rolling. What do you do when gay marriage has been achieved? Now we're fighting for trans, queer. Keep the money rolling in. This has nothing to do with gay people. It's all about deceptive marketing to get corporate pledges. That's all it is. This alphabet mafia soup is not real. There is no LGBT community. It's like saying the zebra, squid, crab, horse community. What do I have to do with a lesbian? We're both suspicious of bisexuals, and the rest is just spicy straights. Don't buy into this when they're selling you. These leftists are selling you a lie. Mammals cannot change sex. Done. The whole argument is finished.
Yeah, 1,000%. So do you think the corporate pledges are perhaps the result of some of the profit incentive for these pharmaceutical companies that are benefiting from,
right?
Yeah.
Why would a government want the healthy body parts of children chopped off, diced up, sliced up, sewn back on their groin in a Mengelesque manner? Frankenstein. You see these pictures of gender-affirming care?
I share these pictures.
Then you understand what is going on in society.
Yeah.
People have no clue the mutilation of children's sex organs, but with the contamination of the language using cis and gender affirming care and gender expression enshrined in the legislation so that no one can refuse it. It sounds so sweet until you see the pictures of a burrito stuck on a poor lesbian kid's groin.
Exactly.
And then you're like, what the hell is going on?
Sickest thing to ever happen in Canada.
You have to see the pictures, folks. The words are deceptive. It's all propaganda marketing. Don't buy the leftist lies.
Yeah, no more willful blindness. People need to see what they're doing to these kids.
We're gay, we're not queer, and we're not going away, and we're not being transed away. They did this to us by the Christians, pray away the gay. Now it's trans away the gay. They hate the gays and they hate women so much that they'll mutilate their breasts. Last month, there's a 12-year-old girl in Vancouver that had her breasts lopped off. 12 years old. People, if you are going to argue that a 12-year-old can consent to having her healthy body organs lopped off, You're living on a different planet.
Especially after they've been groomed in the schools for years.
But they go in looking like a clown, all pink and blue and pretty with glitter and nails.
Yeah.
Going, this is for bullying against the LGBTQAI2S BIPOC MAP people. It never ends, right? The letters.
I know.
You
Plus
wonder,
ampersand.
what is plus? Ever wondered what's plus?
Communist?
Pedophilia?
Oh,
Maps? Pedophilia?
Yeah.
That's what the end goal is. If you blur the lines of what sexual deviance is, what does it lead to?
Debauchery.
Sex of children.
Yeah.
All the boundaries are being blurred and abolished.
Yeah.
That's another boundary.
And the boundaries are there for a reason, you know. It's a Chesterton's fence that our ancestors erected so that we can live in a better society.
For 10,000 years, we've known that children cannot consent.
Yeah.
As a civilization, we still know that you can't get piercings, you can't get tattoos, you can't drink. Yet you can get your tits chopped off. Naked makes sense.
Yeah. It doesn't.
I'm gay, not retarded. Okay, no child can consent.
I love this guy, brother. I appreciate what you're doing, man. What's your name?
Same. Xerxes.
Xerxes. All right. Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks very much for.
Leave the kids alone. Groom the dogs, not the kids.
Amen.
Okay. So I was having some fun there. That guy was pretty fabulous. What do you think, Emily?
I think that it's important to recognize that I have to sign a consent form for my kid to go on a school field trip. I have to give her permission to go on a school field trip. She does not need my permission to switch genders. That's messed up. I liked his line, groom dogs, not children. I think that's a good one. And Stephanie commented, well, while you were showing that clip, creating pharmaceutical patients for life. And absolutely, this is not a one and done procedure. There's always a risk of infection after a surgery. So that could possibly lead to multiple surgeries to fix. And then the hormones, you have to always take those. That's not a one and done situation. And I don't know if what your buddy on the steps there, he said about the 12-year-old, I don't know if that's true or not. But if that is true, that's a seriously young age to start on track. If you can get a 12-year-old on these hormones and continue, let's say that 12-year-old lives well into their 70s, that's an awfully long time to be a customer. That's a lot of dollars.
Yeah, I don't think they last that long, though, is the thing. I've shown some of the data here before, and they really only go about 10 to 12 years post-op.
That's right. That's when the regret starts to sink in. I've got a few trans friends. Some are detransitioners. And from what I hear from them in their group of friends is within 10 years of chemically or surgically transitioning, the regret starts to sink in, because you can change whatever you want cosmetically, but that doesn't heal what is going on emotionally. You can't change your physical features and hope that your emotional well-being will follow suit. You've got to do the inner work on that. What I am hearing from the detransition community, and even people who have transitioned but haven't started detransitioning but are starting to become more honest about what's really going on with them, they will say, like, this wasn't the answer. And these are people that are in their 50s. These are adults, okay, that had made the decision to transition as adults. I know people who transitioned in their 30s only to regret it and are now a detransitioner in their 50s. So if they made a mistake as an adult, these kids don't stand a chance, Jeff. They don't stand a chance. And I run into parents all the time who have a trans child. Just down the valley from me, there's a child, I guess in September, they'll be going into grade 2, I think, grade 1 or grade 2. And the parents are raising them as a transgender child. That child has no idea what it is to be the opposite sex, because they don't know what it is to be the sex they were born. These kids don't know. How could they possibly know? It's called life experience, and that's something you've got to earn through time.
Yeah, you're speaking my language there, Emily. Very well said. And James was just commenting. He said the name for detransitioning is called MAID. Yeah, there is a transsexual in Alberta. There it goes by Duchess Lois of Alberta on X. I've exchanged a couple of messages and stuff, but anyway, this individual is actually seeking MAID to provide a release from the suffering that's been inflicted on them through this transsexual surgery, and it's just horrific, right? Like
It's so horrific.
Male to female. I mean, the vaginoplasty is a wound. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's always going to try to heal itself, and they have to dilate what they,
I always fall back on if humans, okay, we need to remember that we are mammals, we are animals. We just happen to be able to speak, invent technology, drive cars, write words. But at the end of the day, we are animals, we are mammals. And if transgenderism was biologically real, we wouldn't need a surgeon's table or a pharmacist's script to make it happen. Okay.
Right.
And I think that we need to get back to our natural instincts a little bit on this. It's okay to be gay. We don't need to trans the gay away. We don't need to play this game of how far are you willing to go, which is what we're seeing in our high schools with kids. We have groups in our high schools, in middle schools, and even some in elementary schools in British Columbia. It's called GSA clubs, which stands for Gay Straight Alliance. And these are not so much support clubs, which is what they were started for, but what they've really turned into is a competition group of how far are you willing to go. You get a 14-year-old that has figured out, okay, let me back up a second. So a human enters the sexuality realm during puberty. That is the natural course of human nature. Once you enter puberty, you start experiencing sexual ideas, urges, and your sexual development that's when it starts. And that happens for every human at a different age. So let's say this character that I will create, Susie, is 14, and she's going through puberty, and she realizes through going through puberty that her sexual attraction is towards other females. Okay, so Susie has come to the realization that she is a lesbian, and at her school there is a Gay Straight Alliance club, and so she is going to go because all of the promotion on the hallway posters say that this is a safe place for her. She's confused because she's going through puberty, which for the record is confusing regardless of your sexual orientation. Everybody is confused and hates puberty. Everybody. That's unavoidable. And so Susie shows up to this Gay Straight Alliance. Hi, I'm Susie. I'm a lesbian. Maybe this is the first time she's said it out loud. She's sitting in a room full of other teenagers who are uncomfortable in their bodies at that moment. And now the game starts. Are you really a lesbian, Susie? How do you know you're not a boy trapped in a girl's body? And they're doing things like, oh, look at your hands. Your hands are a little bit masculine. That might be a sign that you're actually a boy trapped in a woman's body. Oh, you like monster truck races? That might be another sign that you're trapped in a man's body. Oh, and you play rugby? Definitely a boy trapped in a girl's body. So now you have peer influences, peer pressure. Now we boil this down to, it's not real transgenderism. It's social contagion. Now we have peer pressure, transing the gay away. Susie can't just be who Susie is. Now Susie's entered into this sick game of keeping up with the Joneses. And that is the reality of what the majority we are seeing. Stats Canada just released data on the 2021-2022 school year saying that 0.64% of post-secondary students identify as transgender or non-binary.
Yeah.
0.64%. We are doing all of this to appease less than 1% of our population. Okay.
Yeah.
And kids just like Susie are getting peer pressured and they're falling into social contagion to keep up with the Joneses over this. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I get really frustrated when I think too far about it, because social contagion can happen to anybody. And for the most part, it mostly happens to girls. It can happen to boys too, but girls
Yep.
are highly susceptible to it. I have two daughters. They're young. They're 5 and 8. And not only do I have to worry about everything else that a parent worries about as they grow up and mature, about making good choices, good friend choices. When they go through puberty, are they going to choose good partners who support them and make them feel good about themselves? Or are they going to date jerks that I have to worry about? Are they going to drink and drive? You know, like all of these very normal things. Now I have to worry about, are they going to fall into the wrong crowd and cut their breasts off? What?
Yeah.
Behind my
Yeah.
back? And I don't, but like, oh, hang on, let me just sign this paperwork here so you can go on a field trip to wherever, but like, don't worry about it. Take these hormone injections and cut your breasts off and drastically change the rest of your life. I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah, and you mentioned the social contagion, so I'll throw in this figure, which I show fairly often whenever I'm talking about this particular topic. And this is just from the Statista website there. It's a statistics aggregator. And it says share of respondents who identified as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender in the United States from 2012 to 2023 by generation. And what I want to show here is that the older generations, like the rates of lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender are very low. Like this is the silent generation here, right around, it never cracks 2%. It's like 1.7%. And then the boomer generation, they'll get up to about 1.7, 2.3 at the highest. Gen X up another percentage after that. Millennials up quite a bit, up to reaching a peak of about 11.2. And then you have Gen Z, and their peak is 22.3. So that's more than 10 times the silent generation and about 10 times the boomer generation. And the thing about it is, if this were a genuine civil rights movement, for people advocating for more acceptance and openness, then it would be the older people that would make up these figures predominantly, because they would have been ones who were suppressed their entire lives, now coming out of the closet. But the fact that it's showing, but the fact that it's showing up overwhelmingly in Gen Z and the youngest people among us shows that it's a social contagion, because those are the people who are the most impressionable. And like you said, it is often girls. It's like the girls who used to be emo and goth are now trans. Yeah, that's kind of what you got to watch out for here. And like you said, it's encouraged. So
it's so encouraged. You know, they don't put bulimic patients or anorexic patients on the same floor in the hospital, because if they find each other, they will encourage each other.
Right.
That's social contagion.
That's an interesting tidbit.
But teenage girls who engage in transgenderism, and it starts with a name change, a haircut, a clothing change, they group together and they encourage each other. You get like a herd mentality, and then it becomes like, who can do next, and then the first one gets her breasts, books her surgery to get her breasts removed. Well, the next thing you know, it's like boom, boom, boom. They all fall in line. And then I believe it was Abigail Schreier, love her, who said that there's a 4,000% increase in transgender identifying girls from the age of 13 to 17. That's impossible. That is an impossibility. That boils down. The only way that could be true is if you incorporated social contagion into the equation, which the radical activists refuse to accept as a piece of the puzzle. And, these are the same people that like to scream, follow the science, trust the science. And it's like, yes, okay, well, let's talk about the science then. And in science, you can't just ignore a piece of the puzzle. You have to look at the entire equation. And part of that equation is social contagion.
They won't do that though, because it falsifies their dogma. This is part of their religion at this point. So it's going to be a hell of a lot of cleaning up. This the mess that we're going to have to do. We don't even have a CAS report yet. Seems like the CBC is already running interference on the findings of the CAS report over in the UK there that shut down all these clinics. And we're still charging ahead, and people on this side of the pond, North America in particular, you know, we seem to be, well, what I run into online is if you cite the CAS report, they'll call it a homophobic report. Like,
Yep.
the use of stigma is unprecedented.
Yep. Same with if you cite the WPATH files, the leaked WPATH files.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Homophobic.
it doesn't matter what we present from like our standpoint. We are labeled as hateful, harmful, hurtful, transphobic, bigot. And then once you get that label, they can just treat you. They feel like they can just treat you however you want. And I always come back and say like, oh yeah, no space for hate. Like, no problem. I mean, I have people walk past my farm and throw their dog crap over my fence. I have had hate mail sent to my house. I've been spat on in the grocery store. And these are people that are citing no space for hate. And we need to trust the children. I'm sorry, but if I trusted my children to make decisions, we would be having marshmallows for dinner. We would never have a bedtime. We wouldn't go to school. We wouldn't brush our teeth. Our health, we would be sick all of the time. Our health would be crap. I mean, this is why we don't let kids make decisions, because they are not capable of doing it reasonably or responsibly or for the betterment of themselves. Animals in the wild don't even let their young make decisions, because when they do, they get killed.
Yes. Yes. And that is goal number one when you are a parent, is for your kids to not get dead.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And, you know, and that is the thing, is this gender affirming crap that I'm going to show you guys here. This is the Canadian Pediatric Society. And the page is an affirming approach to caring for transgender and gender diverse youth. And I'm just going to scroll down real quick here. This is the Pediatric Society of Canada, and they have these definitions here on their website. Now, the thing is that I go online and I start talking about this stuff, and people will scream at you that it's not happening in Canada. Well, here is the Pediatric Society's website: gender affirming care provided to an individual to support their gender identity. This care may be medical, surgical, social, and or psychological. Gender affirming hormone therapy: hormones prescribed to induce the development of secondary sex characteristics associated with an individual's experienced gender. Testosterone for those who seek masculine features, and 17 beta estradiol for those seeking feminine features. And then gender affirming surgeries, also called transition-related surgeries or gender-confirming surgeries. This term refers to a range of surgical options that individuals may pursue as a component of transitioning. And there are clinics all over Canada. I'm not going to get into them.
You bet there are. There's a clinic in Kelowna, British Columbia, and I spoke to an ex-employee there. I've got a Rumble channel, and on my Rumble channel, it's called Mums Against the Norm. I have a series called A Conversation with Emily, and one of the episodes I did a couple months ago, I spoke with Erin, and Erin is now refers to herself as a bearded lesbian. But Erin was somebody who got sucked into the transgender lie as an adult and transitioned from female to male. And got a job as a nurse working at the gender affirming care clinic in Kelowna, British Columbia. And it was Erin's job to somewhat counsel these teenagers and young adults into transitioning. So part of Erin's job was teaching these kids as young as 14 years old how to inject their hormones. It is absolutely happening in Canada. It is happening in British Columbia. It is happening in a town near you. And it's very real. I'm in the West Kootenays of British Columbia, and in Nelson, BC, just last year, I believe, there was a grade 11 student in Nelson, British Columbia, had her breasts removed, was taking, once she was healed up from the surgery and got back into school, she was taking students into the gender neutral bathroom and showing off her scars, and was reprimanded by the administration because you need to keep your clothes on in school. And so people who are saying this is not happening in Canada, these people are not living in reality. Ignorance is not bliss. And it's time to get up to speed on your current events. This is very real. This is happening in Canada. This is happening in your town. And you probably know somebody who has been deeply affected by it.
And I can't help but wonder if we're ever going to bring these people back to reality. I mean, there's going to be some severe psychiatric trauma associated with the realization that they've been complicit in the sickest thing to ever happen in Canada. Are they ever going to admit it, I wonder?
You know what? They're going to admit it when all of the generations that have been affected by it are dead and gone. It won't be in our lifetime.
Yeah, you know what? I concur. I think that's probably a reasonable measure of expectation management. And here is the sad reality of it too. This is this is from Cambridge University Press. It's the European Psychiatry Journal here. It says, have the psychiatric needs of people seeking gender reassignment changed as their numbers increase? Register study in Finland. And I'm just going to scroll down here to the results. It says the gender dysphoric group had received many times more specialist level psychiatric treatment both before and after contracting specialized gender what is this? GIS is identity services. Yeah. Okay. Specialized GIS, gender identity services, and had their match controls. A marked increase over time in psychiatric needs was observed among the GD group. Relative risk for psychiatric needs after contacting GIS increased from 3.3 among those with the first appointments in GIS during 1996 to 2000 to 4.6 when the first appointment of GIS was in 2016-2019, when index period and psychiatric treatment before contacting GIS were accounted for. GR patients who had and who had not proceeded to medical GR had an equal risk compared to controls needing subsequent psychiatric treatment. Okay, so that was a mouthful, but I'm going to go back, continue here to the conclusion that says contacting specialized GIS in the on the increase and occurs at even younger ages and with more psychiatric needs. Manifold psychiatric needs persist regardless of medical GR. And I'm saying GR, but what do I mean? Gender reassignment. Okay, medical gender reassignment. So the gender reassignment, it says manifold psychiatric needs persist regardless of medical gender reassignment. So they continue to need care, and not only that, their needs increase post-op. So you have the it was 3.3 and it went up to 4.6 and by their metrics, and it's happening at younger ages, and it only leads to more needs in terms of psychiatric care with contact and also with the gender reassignment. So all harm, no benefit.
That's right, because the gender affirming care doesn't actually touch the issue at hand, the suffering that the person is experiencing, which is emotional or mental. And I don't say that as a hit or anything of these people. I say that as a reality. We are ignoring the real issue, the real problem. They're not getting the care that they need. They're not even getting a Band-Aid. And so they have this problem, and then they're getting surgical or chemical intervention, and it's not fixing the problem, it's just adding to the problem.
Yeah, I mean, you're just making everything worse. Like I said, it's all harm and no benefit. And here's another one. Now, I just showed the last one there. That was from 2024. So these are very recent. And this one, 2024. Okay, I think the last one was from November 2023, and this one's from 2024. Risk of suicide and self-harm following gender affirmation surgery. I'll just read the abstract. It says, introduction: with the growing acceptance of transgender individuals, the number of gender affirmation surgeries has increased. Transgender individuals face elevated depression risks, leading to an increase in suicide ideation and attempts. The study evaluates the risk of suicide or self-harm associated with gender affirmation procedures. Methods: this retrospective study utilized de-identified patients' data from the database involving 56 United States healthcare organizations and over 90 million patients. The study involved 4 cohorts. Cohort A, adults age 18 to 60 who had gender affirming surgery and an emergency visit. Cohort B, control group of adults with emergency visits but no gender affirming surgery. And cohort C, control group of adults with emergency visits, tubal litigation or vasectomy, but no gender affirming surgery. Propensity matching was applied with cohorts. Okay, blah, blah, blah with the methods, guys. And data from February 4th, 2003 to February 4th, 2023 were analyzed to examine suicide attempts, death, self-harm, post-traumatic stress disorder within 5 years of the index event. A secondary analysis involved a control group with pharyngitis, referred to as cohort D, was conducted to validate more methods. Individuals who underwent gender-affirming surgery had 12.12-fold higher suicide attempt risk than those who did not. Compared with the tubal litigation vasectomy controls, the risk was 5.3-fold higher before propensity matching and remained significant at 4.71-fold after matching for the gender affirmation patients, with similar results with the pharyngitis controls. Conclusion: gender affirming surgery is significantly associated with elevated suicide attempt risks, underlining the necessity for comprehensive post-procedure psychiatric support. This is the cop-out that I see in a lot of these studies. It says they don't go all the way and say we should stop doing this to people. They just say that if you're going to do this to people, they're going to need a lot of psychiatric support.
That is a cop-out. You're right. And I think the reason why the suicide attempts and suicide successes happen on such a greater scale after surgery and hormone injections or what have you is because none of the previous issues have been addressed, number one. Number two, the surgeries and the chemicals didn't fix the problem. And number three, understanding and realizing that they've been lied to and now really are trapped in the wrong body is so devastating. Now there's absolutely no trust in the medical profession, none at all. Who do they go to for help? If this was really about helping people, where are all the supports for the people who made a mistake? If this was really about helping people, where are all the supports for the family members who have to watch their loved one go through this?
Well, and my understanding is that generally the detransitioners are excommunicated from the so-called community as heretics, essentially.
Yes, they are. They're treated like garbage. People like you and I are taking them in and saying, like, don't worry, it's okay. We see you. We understand. We're sorry this happened to you. We recognize that you're a victim of this trend and this weird government genocide that's happening, that's like really hard to understand or pinpoint the reason why. There's a lot of assumptions and guesses, but as for myself, I can speak personally, I haven't actually figured out a definitive answer as to why this is happening. And like, I've got a few detransitioner friends that I have really come to love, and it just, to watch their perseverance and strength as they try to regain a sense of self and create a new life for like the third or fourth time is unreal. And when I watch this, I understand why many of them commit suicide, because the fight is so extreme to just exist.
Yeah, and the ostracization, like I think many of us got a taste of that during COVID as well. Ostracization for humans is pretty devastating emotionally.
We are pack animals.
Yes, yeah. it was a death sentence in the ancestral environment, like to be banished.
Yep.
That was effectively a death sentence. So we tend to take it very hard. So
Yep.
I
And
can't
again,
imagine
that
that's
goes
helpful.
back to like, guys, we're mammals. You need to remember this. It's like the powers to be, they haven't forgotten that, and they are using that against us big time. Big time. We are pack animals. We need to have a pack, whether it be big or small. We need to belong. We need a sense of belonging. And they are preying on that in our youth. They are using that to their advantage. The youth that are falling for this, they're not youth that come from good, loving, caring homes with big families. They're not youth that have good, strong support systems. They are youth that are suffering socially, mentally. They are youth that come from not the best home situations. They have, some of them are on the autistic spectrum. Some of them, they're, like I said, lots of abuses, sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, and they're being preyed on. And the powers to be know that, like, hey, we see that you don't have a pack. Come and join ours.
Yeah, they are preying on the most vulnerable among us. And here are some stats from Canada. And this is something that Emily sent my way just before the show. So, Emily, why don't you go ahead and walk us through this here, since you're a little more familiar.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. This is the one that says it's 0.64% of post-secondary students identify as transgender or non-binary. So that is less than 1% in our post-secondary. So post-secondary is college and university levels. It says here that the majority of them are in the social and behavioral sciences. It says fields of study with the highest proportion of transgender or non-binary post-secondary students. Oh, we lost it.
Sorry, I dropped it. I'm just
That's okay. I've got it here. So 76% of them, and remember, this 76% is taken from the 0.64%. So it's so ridiculous. So 0.76% are in mathematics and computer and information sciences. 1.34% arts and humanities. 0.74% are in trades, services, natural resources, and conservation. 0.88% social and behavioral sciences. 0.52% are in science and technology.
I was just going to say, like, that maps very well with kind of my understanding of like left brain, right brain kind of.
That's right. Yep. It makes, if for the people that are paying attention, everybody that's watching this is going, yes. A field of study with the lowest proportion of transgender or non-binary post-secondary students is business and administration, which has 0.33%.
Interesting.
So if you look up, so at where it has the chart there, the student population of Canadian public post-secondary institutions by educational qualification, and college level certificate, the total number of persons, 89,790. Number of transgender or non-binary persons is 540, which gives you a percent of 0.60%. We are going to extreme lengths for this number of people. And I'm not saying that these people don't matter. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is this is an extreme amount of effort to normalize a very small population of people, okay? A population of people that probably wouldn't even be 0.6% if we were not going to these great lengths.
Right.
So we have in British Columbia, we have SOGI 123, which stands for sexual orientation and gender identity. And I was asked the other day what the 123 means, and I realized that I actually haven't gone over that, and it's not discussed on great lengths publicly what the 123 stands for. So the one and so Soji 123, it originated in British Columbia in 2016 from the ARC Foundation, which is based in Vancouver, BC. It started as a pilot project in 9 districts, and today it is in all 60 districts of British Columbia, and I believe it is in 5 or 6 they don't call them districts in Alberta. I can't remember what they call them, but it is moving into Alberta. And has been for the last 5 years. And it is slowly trying to make its way across the country. So SOGI 1 is about policies and procedures. And what it says on the website is that the policies and procedures are there to reduce discrimination, reduce suicidal ideation and attempts. So SOGI 1 is all around creating policies and procedures to protect the non-binary, transgender, LGBTQ plus, whatever acronym students, which we are seeing right here at a post-secondary level is less than 1%. Okay. So G2 represents inclusive environments. So what that looks like is, how do we make this school present in a way that lets these students know they're safe here? Let's put a progressive flag up in the hallway. Let's hang one outside on the flag pole. Let's have a gay straight alliance club. Let's make sure we put posters on the walls of the gender unicorn and all the different identities, so that 0.64% of the students know that they are safe here. SOGI 3 is teaching resources. Now, this is the part of SOGI that gets spoken about the most because it is so shocking, but we should not ignore SOGI 1 and 2 because they are equally important. So SOGI 3 is teaching resources, and what that looks like is the sexually explicit books that we see being read in schools that you can access in your public library. It is worksheets and it is celebrations like, oh, it's Pride Month. We're going to have a Pride parade at this elementary school. And so you take SOGI 1, 2, and 3, and that is what creates the movement to help these students feel safer in public education, when they were always safe in public education. In British Columbia, across the board in all the districts, there is a 0 bullying tolerance. And if we could just get our administrations to adhere to it and uphold it, we wouldn't need SOGI 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. And the thing about the thing about the inclusivity, like you're talking about the flags and stuff like this, and this is what's going through my mind, is it's like they're marketing as all inclusivity, but in fact it is a very exclusive club, as we can see by the numbers here. And you know, what does every vulnerable teenage girl really want? It's to be included, it's to be accepted, and
the boys
what?
too.
Certainly, but into what most of the time? Probably an exclusive club. So, you know, when you're venerating this exclusive club, and you're you're telling kids that there's something wrong with them, kind of like Circulon was alluding to there in his tweet that we started the show off with. You know, you're telling kids that their society hates them, basically, and they're not in the club, but there is a way to get in the club. Like there's no telling what a teenager will do, right?
Right. And, you know, I actually took, I don't know if you know this or not, but there is a heterosexual pride flag. I didn't know this until last year. I Googled it, and sure enough, look at that. There is one that exists. It's not as exciting as the pride flag. It's black and white stripes. It's got the female sign and the male sign, and that's it. And I actually took that flag and I took it to School District 20's administration office, and I asked if they would fly it next to the progressive trans pride flag, in the name of inclusion, diversity, equity, you know, all of those nice headlines that they like to shout from the rooftops. And it was declined. And then I had a little sticker made, and I took it to a couple different businesses in Trail, BC. And one of the businesses, after I left, they went to the RCMP and they said that I was hateful, harmful, hurtful. They tried to have me charged with a hate crime. Luckily, the RCMP officer said that my actions did not meet that of a hate crime. But when I spoke to him on the phone, he was incredibly rude to me. I ended up filing a complaint with the RCMP about his conduct. And I was told by the head of the RCMP in the West Kootenays that my flag was it was associated with white pride, hate movement, and that is why it shouldn't be put up anywhere, because groups like the KKK support heterosexual straight pride. And so anybody who has straight pride is now guilty by association with groups like the KKK, which I find very interesting. I sent you this earlier before the show. I'm not sure if you got it in time, but a gentleman by the name of Sean Gravels, I'm not sure if I've pronounced that right, but in January 2024, there was an article put out about him, and he was the president of the board for North Peace Pride Society since 2018. And at the beginning of this year, he was charged with, I want to make sure I get it right because I'm saying it live for the public to hear and I don't need to be sued. So the charges against Sean Gravels, age 39, include touching a person under 16 for sexual purposes, sexual interference of a person under 16, possession of child pornography, and importing or distributing child pornography. And again, he was the North Peace Pride Society president since 2018. So if we're going to allow guilty by association, anybody who flies the pride flag, can we not associate them with that? How far are we going to take this? If I can't have straight pride because that associates me with the KKK and allows people to call me a Christian white nationalist, then when somebody flies a progressive pride flag, can I not associate them with Sean Gravels, who's been charged with child pornography, touching somebody under the age of 16 for sexual purposes? Is that not the same thing?
I actually just dropped out there.
Oh,
I don't know. I actually did that twice. So just a heads up, folks, I am live here and I'm doing my best not to drop out again, but something weird is going on over here. Maybe I'm being hacked by the Rainbow Mob.
We're making too much sense. You know you're on something when
You're banished from the internet now. So
yeah, I was just saying that, like, if I can't have straight pride because it associates me with the KKK, which I am not associated with, for the record, then doesn't flying a progressive pride flag associate people with Sean Gravels, who is the president of the North Peace Pride Society since 2018? He was just charged with child pornography and touching a person for sexual purposes under the age of 16. Can't we?
Of
is that not
course
the
he
same
was.
thing?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that shoe doesn't fit so good on the other foot now, does it?
No, it doesn't. And when you can pull, like, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. Just like there are dangerous heterosexuals, there are dangerous gay people. And so you can't group everybody into the same category. I should be able to celebrate my heterosexual pride without being called a Christian white nationalist. And yet I can't. The RCMP have said so.
Oh my God. That's that is the level of insanity that we fall into here, folks. I mean, like, that's not even the full extent of it. But it just goes to show. And oh shoot, I got to get my screen back up here, folks. The whole thing just went down on me, but I'm back. I think we're okay. Here we have this is a Fox News report. They did an interview here. It's just a few minutes long. It says new book has detransitioners decrying gender affirming care as they return to faith, family, and foundations.
They say that it's like, is that a bad thing?
Apparently, that's what's happening. This book is about people returning to faith, family, and foundations after decrying their gender affirming care. So the detransitioners, this seems to be the way they're going.
Yes, and that's what I've seen as well. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So, all right, let's check this out.
President Biden's health department, meanwhile, remains supportive of these treatments and is instead focusing more on the dangers of social media. Our guest had a double mastectomy, so-called top surgery, at a young age, but has since detransitioned. Joining us now is Prisha Mosley. Prisha, thanks for joining us. I just want to put up what this new law in Utah does. It bans sex change surgeries for anyone under the age of 18 and prohibits hormone therapy and puberty blockers without formal diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Do you believe that America at large needs to put the brakes on transgender treatments for minors?
Absolutely. If I'm correct with the numbers, there's been a recent 4,000% increase in trans identifying youth in America. And I mean, the numbers just don't add up. It looks like a social contagion.
So let's take a look broadly across the country as to where we stand. Utah joining Texas and Florida with bans on transgender surgeries for minors. There's a surgery ban in Arizona. The ban was suspended in Arkansas and Alabama, but the remainder of the states, the overwhelming majority, have no bans and are moving full steam ahead with this.
Yes, it's quite frightening. I'm hoping that bans, even if temporary, will give children more time to think and find actual helpful therapy for root issues and not be rushed into medicalization.
I want to jump ahead here to call fours number 5 and number 4. Recently, we had Nina Power from Compact Magazine on our program. She says that she was a tomboy as a child, and she included a tweet of a photograph of what she looked like as a child. But she says even though she was a tomboy, nobody pressured her into transgender treatments. She now says that society is going backwards, which is very concerning to her. Listen to what she told Sandra.
I think a lot of people are worried about a situation where young children might be put on a particular course, either through puberty blockers or through drugs or surgery, that doesn't really address the problem, and that actually will lead to a lot more harm, a lot more unhappiness.
She says that going down the road to transition for some people might lead to a lot more harm, a lot more unhappiness. You traveled that road. What did it lead to for you?
It has been harrowing, honestly. My body is very difficult. My endocrine system is messed up. I have sexual dysfunction. I suffered hair loss on my head and hair growth on my body. And years later, I'm still experiencing numbness and pain in my chest after my top surgery.
Wow. I mean, that's got to be awfully difficult to deal with, which is why a lot of European countries are really pulling back on all of this. Countries, let's put the map up. Countries like Austria, the Czech Republic, Croatia, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Spain, a lot of countries that are seen as being far more progressive than the United States are dialing back on all of this. And to a large degree, they've had a lot more experience with it than the United States has. What, Prisha, do these countries know that we don't know here in the United States?
I think because they've had more time with this, they can see the actual results. We're not studying detrans people. Actually, here in the States, there aren't even medical codes for detrans people. I'm still coded as a transgender person. So there's just not research, and they haven't found out the devastating side effects of hormones and surgery. Even if you remain trans and don't detransition, you're on the medical leash for life and will have severe complications.
Well, Prisha Mosley, we appreciate you being with us, and we're thinking about you all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and somebody, I think her name is Prisha Mosley, but somebody was saying Tammy Morrison. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is, and I don't buy this excuse that because they've had more time with it overseas, that it's going to take us a little bit more time to catch up. I mean, we have all the data. I'm showing studies from Sweden, so on and so forth. Like you go where the information is, and we have access to all of it. So what is taking so long in North America? A handful of states are getting on board, but I mean, Europe is way ahead of us on this. What are your thoughts on that there, Emily?
Well, the first thing that jumped into my mind is how come it's called progressive when it's targeting children? How is targeting children referred to as progress? That I don't think I will ever understand that. But and I don't know what's taking North America so long. I mean, Canada and the States were kind of in the same boat there. We're just like we've just totally blinded ourselves, turned off our ears and eyes to the reality of what this is. This young woman here, she is one of many, not a few. She is one of many, and they're all saying the same thing. I was too young. I didn't know. I just watched the documentary, The War on Children, and I actually think it might have been that young woman that was in it. But whoever the young woman was, she had her breasts removed at 13 years old. I'm not even entirely sure if a woman's breasts are finished developing at 13 years old. What medical professional removes a body part that is mid-development? Where is the code of ethics here? Where are the values of the individual performing the surgery? I know that in states versus Canada, the like payment of a surgeon and a doctor, it differs. I know that there is a cap in Canada, and I don't think there's a cap in the States. And so if it's not for financial gain, why are they doing it? What could possibly be the reason behind it? If we have patients who have to wait months and years for a surgery, a truly life-saving surgery, perhaps like say cancer or what have you, and then we just have this lineup for gender-affirming surgeries that just get in and out, and we're just pumping them out like crazy. I don't understand how that is the reality that we're living in. I don't understand how the powers to be are completely ignoring the harms done. And it's not, again, I'm always advocating for the family. It's not just the person who is transitioning that is going through the transition. It is not just the person who is detransitioning who is going through the detransition. It is the mother, it is the father, it is the brother, the sister, the grandparent, the aunt, the uncle, the friends. All of these people are being affected. It's like throwing a pebble into a pond. There is a ripple effect. Where are the supports for the other people in this person's life? Where are they?
Well, yeah, that is the thing, is I don't believe they exist. Even in some of the data that we've shown here, some of these studies, they're advocating for more psychiatric care post-op, but when it comes to detransitioning, like that care just doesn't exist.
It doesn't. In the 70s, they were transitioning adults in the 70s. And the criteria was you had to live an entire year, 365 days without taking a break as the opposite gender. And if you couldn't hack it, and you had to do regular counseling and keep a journal. And if you couldn't hack it, they were not going to transition you medically whatsoever. That was a good model. I think that that's good. If you can't do it for a year, you can't do it. Okay. Like, I think, you know, it's kind of like on par with having a teenager who wants a tattoo. Okay, well, here, wear this fake tattoo. You want a tattoo on your neck? Wear this fake tattoo on your neck for 3 months. And if you don't like it, you can't get a real tattoo on your neck. Like, it's not care. It's not life-saving surgery. It's the ethics have left the building. The people that are engaging in these surgeries and chemical interventions, I don't know where their head's at. I mean, of course, you don't know where anybody's head's at until you walk a mile in their shoes, which is impossible. But I was told by one person that they're just living in an echo chamber. So they're working with and socializing with people who have the same morals and values, which is typical. Again, we're pack animals. We surround ourselves with like-minded people. Okay, that's reasonable. That makes sense. But at the same time, as a medical professional, you should be aware of all walks of life, of all ideas, and of all things that you're involved with in your profession. And whatever happened to I'm going to get the saying wrong here, but there used to be a code of when a doctor or a nurse shows up to work, they hang up their personal opinions and ideas and beliefs with their jacket, and when they put on their doctor's coat, they now just carry the code of ethics of a physician. What
That's
happened
called
to that?
professionalism.
Where did that go? When did we lose it? What happened?
I think like you're really touching on the profit incentive there. How much that incentivizes doctors in Canada might be an open question, but it is there. Like they're paid contractors effectively under Canada's healthcare system. And I know that there was a ton of them being done in Montreal in particular. Here's the National Post. We've shown this here before. This is from 2023, September 29th, and it says hundreds of trans teens under 18 have had breasts removed in Canada, new data show. Concerns have been raised about mastectomies in teens when uncertainties exist about long-term health effects and the possibility of regret. Yeah, I would say like that, hundreds at this point. And we're a very small country, so I think it's like the profit incentive is probably there, but also I think it's part ideological. Like a lot of it is ideological, if anything. These people think they're saving the gays or something like that.
It's conversion therapy. It's like a new version of conversion therapy. And that news clip that we just watched of that woman, they showed a picture of her as a child saying that she was a tomboy, tom girl, whatever. I was a tomboy. If Soji 123 had been around when I was in school, I would have been a victim of transgenderism. I was highly susceptible to social contagion. I was an uncomfortable teen. I was dorky and didn't fit in very well. I really struggled to find a friend group that would have me and for me to feel like they cared about me. I was rebellious. Anything I could do to piss off my folks, that's what I was doing. And I would have been a shoo-in for this ideology. When I was like a little kid, I had a mushroom cut. I looked just like Dennis the Menace. My favorite toy was my slingshot. My mom bought me one Barbie my entire childhood because I begged for it. My sister is 7 years older than me, and she's quite girly and has been her whole life. And I wanted a Barbie, and my mom bought me this Barbie, which, they weren't cheap back then. And the first thing I did was cut its head off, cut all its hair off, and bury it upside down in the front garden. And she was like, never again will I buy you a Barbie. I would have done with it. I grew up on a farm. We had sheep, cows, pigs, horses. I barrel raced. I used to just run out into the back gully, hop on our ram, and see how long I could stay on for. I was a tomboy, and I was a tomboy well into my teen years. And then all of a sudden I went through a stint in my young adulthood where I wanted to be a girly girl. I wanted to wear sexy dresses and stiletto heels, and I wanted to be looked at by men, and I wanted that kind of attention. And then I just kind of leveled out in my late 20s and my early 30s when I had my kids and got together with my husband. And now I just am happy to be a farm wife, and I don't want to leave my farm ever. But so these like personality changes that we go through as humans, they're quite normal. And I said earlier that every single one of us is uncomfortable going through puberty. I can't speak to the male experience, but I can definitely speak to the female experience. And I can tell you that I don't think that it matters if you're gay, straight, bisexual, or a purple alien. When you're going through puberty, you're uncomfortable in the locker room. you don't feel good about anything. Everybody's body develops differently at a different rate at a different time, and it's not fun for any of us. And to use that as a pillar idea that you're in the wrong body is abusive. It's a lie, and I'm not sure when we're going to start accepting as a society that it's normal. I think that so I'm very embarrassed to be a millennial. I hate that I'm a millennial. There's nothing I can do about it, but I hate it because millennials are stupid for the most
It's not
part.
their fault. It's not their fault, though.
But we were raised by our parents wanting to do right by us, wanting to give us good things, wanting to shield us from the harms, make our lives easier. And so the downfall of that, one of the consequences of that is now we are not good at accepting things that are uncomfortable because we have been so shielded from it. So now we don't want our kids to experience it either, but we've taken it to like the next level. Like, oh my God, you're right. Puberty's uncomfortable. We'll just stop it. We'll just block it.
Oh
like,
my God.
Like, you know, my generation, it was the participation ribbon. We're going to make you feel good just for having a heartbeat. And now it's like, we're going to protect you from your natural experiences. Like no, we've gone too far. We've gone too far.
Yeah. Protecting people from personal growth. Like
you cannot. It's just gone too far. I can't say that enough. And I always come back to like, it was the participation ribbon. If we could just go back in time and remove the participation ribbon.
You know, I don't know. I don't blame the millennials, though. I take a pretty different take on things. I mentioned to you last time you were on, I was talking about Strauss-Howe generational theory and the fourth turning, and we're living through a fourth turning crisis that we go through every 4 generations. And so this is the era when the gender roles are the narrowest. I think the first, if you go back like 4 generations, you'll see the first transgender surgery, Magnus Hirschfeld in the Weimar Republic. So, and yeah, it's all part of the repeating pattern of history, really. And this is, I think, as extreme as it has ever gone, by far. But yeah, it's the gender roles are at their widest in the first turning, right after the Second World War, and they go narrower in the second turning, then narrower in the third. So we went from like long-haired hippies to boys wearing earrings, and then in the fourth turning, they're at their narrowest, and it really does seem to be the total eradication of gender is the order of the day right now. So
it's so
really
sad.
something.
It's so sad.
Yeah. And here is one just from the other side here, folks. And it's regret after gender-affirming surgery, a systemic review and meta-analysis of prevalence. Now, this concludes that only 1% of people who go through with the gender reassignment actually experience regret. This is the one that Joe Biden likes to cite. So I'll pull it up here just so everybody's armed going into the ideological battle space with the right information. And here I'm scrolling down to table 2. We can see that when they're putting these things together, like maybe we want to rethink this anyway, because here's the data from Canada, and the median age is 28.5. So the people who are going through this, and you'll see a similar trend as you scroll down with a lot of these studies. So they're not talking about kids when they're citing this 1% figure. They're talking about people who are 28 and a half, 33 and a third, 34, 39, 35, 38. Okay. So, and this data is actually from the 80s. I think I need to scroll over to see that, but, all right, it's in there somewhere, but yeah, they're using data from the 80s and we're talking about adults. But this is the one that came out 2021. Yeah, 2021. This was the one that Joe Biden stood on there and said, yeah, we got to do this stuff. We got to keep doing it to all the kids. because we just got this study. And this would be about the time that, you know, the left and the pharmaceutical companies would be cobbling together a meta-analysis of all of the confirmation biased data that they can find out there, and they'll come back to us and say, nope, it's all good, 1%. But in fact, they're talking about old data dealing with older people, not kids. So that is, and there was no social contagion back then, right?
Right. Well, I think it all boils down to these people aren't being honest with themselves. So how could they possibly be honest with anyone else? I mean, and also like Joe Biden can hardly form a sentence. Why are we listening to anything he's saying? Like the guy.
Honestly. It's amazing to me that anybody is, but people are still out there on frickin' you know, MSNBC. I got to come up with it's a mental institution, that place. Like,
I think, you know, if any one of us treated our grandparents the way that America treats Joe Biden, we'd be in jail for elder abuse.
It is elder abuse.
It's absolutely elder abuse. The man doesn't even know where he is 99.9% of the time, never mind able to form a sentence. And it's horrific. I can't watch. Anytime he comes on, I have to turn it off because I just feel I get this bleeding heart that is like, oh my God, somebody rescue that man, because I don't look at him as the villain. I look at him as a victim. He's being completely used and abused by everybody in his corner. His wife is a doctor, is she not? What the heck is she's doing?
PhD in education. Like,
yeah.
It's
terrible. It's terrible.
She's abusing him.
Oh, they all are. They all are.
I would say that it's both. Like, he is evil and he's being abused.
Yeah, well, yes, he is evil and he's being abused. Absolutely. Sure. So maybe this is the karma he's earned.
Yeah, maybe if there's any justice, any natural justice in the world. Here's another thing. I just wanted to show this too. This is from the same study, the meta-analysis that Joe Biden likes to cite. And it's a National Institute of Health. So, here is the data that they relied on. They graded it themselves. And as you can see, the fair to poor columns are absolutely teeming. We have, we have 13 studies they rated. There's a total of 27 studies here. 5 of them they rated as good. 13 were fair and 9 were poor. So that's the data that Joe Biden is going on. Is that hard to see for you?
That's okay. I got it.
Yeah. So 5 good, 13 fair, 9 poor.
Well,
and that's what the president of the United States will get out there and stand on when he's saying we need to keep going with this.
That's a great representation for who Joe Biden is.
He makes my job easy, I'll say.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking though, because we talked about this elder abuse, but I was watching the debate there the other night. I was like, what did they shoot him up with? Look at his eyeballs. He usually stands there and he squints like this. He's got these tiny little eyeballs lately because his dementia is taken over. And then he came out on that debate stage and his eyes were bugging right out of his head. I was like, what did they shoot him up with before they sent him out there?
Something good. They gave him something super
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Totally asking for a friend.
Yeah, when he's not smelling little girls, he's taking shots to make speeches that he doesn't have any know on.
Yeah, unbelievable. Before we move into the outro or whatever, I think I will plug this petition, and I'm gonna plug Kosh Mom over on Rumble as well for dumping this in the chat for me, and I threw it into the lineup. Thank you so much. And Kosh Mom's been making all kinds of great comments over there and also provided the link to the National Post article. I've shown it here before, but I thought it was topical, so I threw it in there. So thanks for the assist over there, Kosh Mom on Rumble. Here is E5010. It's on health, and this is on the House of Commons petitions site here. And it says, petition to the government of Canada, whereas we are deeply troubled by the largely unrestricted social and medical options being presented to children struggling with gender ideation in Canada. Recent revelations, including the discredited nature of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health and the findings of the CAS review commissioned by NHS England, underscore significant concerns regarding the safety and effectiveness of current treatment modalities. The protection of our youth from irreversible and harmful medical interventions should be a top priority for the Government of Canada, and we implore the House of Commons to prioritize evidence-based practices and take decisive action to ensure the safety and well-being of all children and adolescents in Canada. We, the undersigned residents and citizens of Canada, call upon the Government of Canada to 1. Cease all physical medical procedures for individuals under the age of 18 and gender-affirming care for those under 16 years of age. That doesn't go far enough, guys. Adopt evidence-based guidelines that prioritize non-invasive reversible forms of intervention until individuals reach an age where they can provide informed consent. And 3, disengage any association or endorsement of WPATH and its recommendations, as they have been largely discredited and are not conducive to safeguarding the well-being of children and adolescents. I could have told you that. I could have told you that years ago. I'm
so glad that you're showing this. My friend Jessica Street helped write this petition. It is because of all of her hard work and dedication to the cause that this is a thing. She's a wonderful human being, and she has done so much good work for Canada. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. And thank you, especially to Kosh Mom, for sending me the link there in the Rumble chat. Much appreciated. We got some pretty knowledgeable and motivated people in this audience here, folks. It's wonderful. So
it is.
Yeah.
And you know, when you said you don't think that's old enough, the 16, I agree with that. If I had it my way, it would be nothing would be happening to anybody under the age of 25. My line is 25. Like we have, we've got some like RRSPs or whatever, some money saving things for our kids. And I've set it up that my kids won't be able to touch it until they're 25, not 18, not 19, not when they graduate, because I have a theory that you graduate from high school and then you get like an introduction to real life and you're just stupid. You don't know the way of the world. You don't know who you are. You are irresponsible. You just lack a basic understanding of what it takes to be a productive human and member of society. And so it takes from graduating until on average about 25. I hope by the time you're 25, you've got it, you've leveled out somewhat. And so I think that like if I was queen of the world, I would make it the age of a flat 25.
I concur. Actually, I say 25 all the time as well, because the data that I have shown here previously, like there's a pattern that I can see emerging where the older they follow up with these people, the older they are when they follow up, the greater the rate of desistance. So by age 23, the rate of desistance is 88, and by age 25, it's in the high 90s. So 88% of people who present to gender clinics with dysphoria, the dysphoria will desist by age 23, 88% of the time. And by age 25, I think it's 96 or 97% of the time. So
I think on average, by the time you've reached the age 25, you care less about what those around you think of you, and you really start to come into your own and start to think like, oh, I actually like this, or you know what, I actually don't like that. I don't need to do this because my friend is doing it. I can do this because I like to do it. And so I think that that would get rid of a lot of the social contagion aspect that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just going to address one comment here. Here's Christian Rose. He trolls me on Facebook all the time. He's a total scumbag who likes to promote the sexual butchery of children for profit into permanent medical patients. You must own stock in Big Pharma or something like that. He says 25, huh? So much for freedom, apparently. So, Christian, you are super dumb and you have no idea what freedom even means, okay? So when we say freedom, what we mean is freedom from coercion. Okay, that's what a free country is. You may put laws in place that deter me from acting, but you may not coerce me to an action. So when we're talking about freedom, like coercing people into taking creepy gene therapies marketed as vaccines, that's coercion. But when we're talking about putting safeguards in place to do less harm in our society, to prevent harm from coming to young people, that's just a sensible thing to do. Okay, buddy? That's got nothing to do with coercing anybody. So freedom is not even an issue there. You're dumb.
I wonder if Christian lets his 12-year-old take vodka shots and Red Bull, or lets his 5-year-old drive down the freeway. I think, you know, we've got age limits in our society for a reason, and not to trample on people's freedoms, but to protect them and keep them safe.
Yeah, and people who want to protect children are homophobes, don't forget, according to Christian. So
well,
that's the level of maturity that we're dealing with over here. So
he's probably going to be sad come the election next year, isn't he, then?
We all pray, yes. It can't come soon enough, by the way, folks. Holy smokes. How much damage can they do between now and next year?
Don't tempt them. Don't tempt them.
Oh, who needs tempting? But the good news is they took an extra long break for the summer. So that works in our favor.
That's refreshing.
They
didn't take an extra long break. They gave us a break.
Exactly. All right. I'm going to throw to the Veterans for Freedom website, folks. So head over to veteransforfreedom.ca and check us out. You can subscribe to our newsletter by clicking subscribe here. Join Veterans for Freedom if you're a veteran by clicking join here, and support Veterans for Freedom by clicking support here. When you go there, you will see the opportunity to donate to V4F directly to help us keep the lights on and the StreamYard going and the website and all that. And also there is the support fund option as well, which we have set up to collect donations to help Canadians who are suffering under this tyranny. And I'll show you some previous fund recipients here. We had the Capital Bikers Church up there last going off. They're awesome. So I'm happy to have them on board. Chris Lysak, who of course was a political prisoner out there in Coutts, Alberta, and Matt Anderson's service dog Nova. Matt has a balance of $12,100 left on his service dog Nova. Payment will be made to the Searchlight Service Dogs. Matt is a Canadian military veteran who served in Afghanistan with the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment. He was deployed to Afghanistan in 2008 as part of the Kandahar Provincial Reconstruction Team. On December 13th, he was part of a patrol that was hit by an improvised explosive device. So all kinds of great Canadians up there that are in need of help. And also you had the opportunity to send 10% of your donation to Helping Heroes Heal. So we're really proud of this thing around here. So you can sign up by using one of the buttons here with your credit card for an automatic monthly donation. And if you don't want to use your credit card, please send your e-transfers to fund@veteransforfreedom.ca, preferably with your auto deposit enabled. But if you're not able to do that, please use the password all caps fund, number 4, all caps freedom, fund for freedom, and we'll make sure that that gets off to a worthy cause. And that brings us all the way back around to I was going to do circular to our quote for the day. Abigail Schreier, and she says, "It is worth asking whether a standard guided less by biology than by political correctness is in the best interests of the patient." Well, what do you think? I think we pretty much beat that one to death here, Emily. Are they better off with the procedures done in the name of political correctness than they are in the name of their own health? Final thoughts, please.
We should never be making life-altering decisions based on politics. Politics and health, they don't mix.
Nothing really mixes with politics, I don't think.
I think that our politics have proven over the last, I'm going to say 10 years, that their interest is based solely on the politicians and less on the people.
Yeah, 1000%. And just to show you what we're up against here, here is evil Christian Rose again. Is your son better off, Jeff? He's talking about my daughter, who is estranged because of all of this. So that's how low these people are. He likes to come to my Facebook every day and rub this in my face, the fact that my daughter's being sexually butchered by the state that I served for 20 years. So these people feed on human suffering. They are demons. I mean that because I just think that that's the word that our ancestors used to use for scumbags like this. You know, nothing really satiates their bloodlust more than just being cruel to other humans. That's what we're up against, folks. It's evil. So
imagine having nothing better to do with your time but troll people with different beliefs than you.
Isn't it pathetic and creepy?
This is a 2-hour podcast we're on here. He's been watching us for 2 hours with just like hate, just
I know,
festering inside of him, and all he can do is jab at you over your daughter. That's no space for hate.
Oh yeah. You see how it's all projection. This is the ironclad law of world projection at work, folks. Is they always accuse us of what they themselves are guilty. Of course, that's just how the evil mind works. I mean, whatever guilt can manifest, they just project onto the rest of us. So all of their own hatred and pedophilic impulses, like Christian, that's what they do. Okay, well, that's it for me for tonight there, folks. Emily, thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with us again. It's always a pleasure. And it was a really great guest for my first stream back. So I've been off for a little while. Pleasure to talk with you, Emily. And to everybody who stayed with us, stay frosty and stay safe.
Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs.